From athletes to authors, innovators to icons, we connect with those who help shape the South's culture, revealing the stories of their lives, their journeys, their triumphs and tragedies, what molded them into who they are today. Broadcasting across the Southeast, telling the South stories. This is where their stories live. Authentically off-script and personally illuminating. This is Audibles with Jason Scarborough. This week on Audibles, we bring you an Audibles Encore. This week, Wyatt Waters, Part 2.
I've heard you say, and this was such an interesting quote to me, you said every painting needs some sort of tension, something to resolve. Do I have that right? And I've always wondered what you meant by that.
Well, it's like some of my favorite art classes were not art classes. I had a creative writing class. I got the creative writing award in college, the Bellman Award. And in there, we really, critiquing was more about, tension, restraint, theme, variation, beginning, middle, end. That's how we thought of the art of writing. And it's really the same thing with painting. You have to have problems. It's like a story, If a book doesn't have somebody having an affair or cheating or murder, you're not going to want to read it. If it's just like, things just rolling along fine, there has to be something to resolve. So when I look for a painting to do, what I'm really looking for is the problem, because the painting is made by the solution of the problem. Mm-hmm. People think, you're looking for problems. Why are you doing that? I mean, look for something that's easy. But that's not what holds people's interest. I remember watching the great Walendas. They were trapeze, high wire act, and very famous. And, if they walked a line 2 feet off the ground, nobody would be watching.
No.
You have to have the element of the tension that holds your attention, because you think, well, they might fall. And everybody wants to see something like that happen. When I'm painting outside, like I'm getting ready to teach a workshop tomorrow, people don't say this, but they're thinking, well, I heard he's a pretty good painter, but this one's just not working out, And they're not going to say that because they're being nice. Some people will say it out of honesty or want to just give you a jab, but it has to have a part of the painting where you've got, it's the critical part of the painting when you start resolving these problems. You start solving these problems. You have to have that. That's what holds your interest. And that's what really life's about anyway. I appreciate walking on, in the morning and when things are just nice and calm. But really, as the day moves on, there's something that has to be done. There's something that didn't work right that you got to make right. And painting is like that too. It doesn't always just happen. And they say, oh yeah, but you're a good painter. You can make it work. I thought, no, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I just try to do my part to make it happen, to resolve this. And a painting has I said beginning, middle, end. It has like the 3 parts of a short story: beginning, middle, and end. You introduce an idea, you develop the idea, and solve those problems, and you come to this, am I saying this right? Denouement. It's French. It means it comes to something. It's not really an ending. The ending of the painting it never really ends. It ends each time someone views it. You leave things out for the reader, the viewer, to put their own things in there. That's where a good book is. You let some people interpret this according to what their needs are, or fears, or hopes. Dr. Gore said this: a good painting is like a half-filled pitcher. You can take something out of it and you can put something in it. It's a collaboration between the viewer and the artist and the world. So that's how I look at it. That's my own personal view on that. It's a bunch of other people's opinions too.
Do you look back at your journey and feel there was a moment where you feel like you mastered watercolor? Because it can be an unforgiving medium and a difficult medium, but is there a point in your journey where you feel like, okay, now I got it?
Well, when I took the classes originally, there was somebody who was really good. He was a really fantastic painter, and I wanted to take that class, and I took it, and he wound up not pursuing that. That's not what he wanted to do. And people say, oh, what a waste. But no, not everybody's supposed to paint. He found something he wanted to do, and that's good. But I thought that I could just work really hard and get to that place where I would get it. And but as I've gotten older, I realize I'm just peeling the onion, and you never get there. You keep your sights on something on the horizon, and you're walking, and you never get there. But you have to be satisfied with the journey and the improvement. And unfortunately, or fortunately, or the way it is, you know, I can't really look at my stuff and see it in the way somebody else does, unless, let's say someone got a painting and they've invited us over to their house and I've forgotten that they got a painting, and I walk into a room and I see it. That is probably the purest I will ever get to see that painting. Because as I'm painting the painting, I'm having to push myself to the point, the critical point, where I can't really enjoy the product of the painting. I always see what didn't work. That's always what I see. I see this didn't work, that didn't work. When I teach classes now, I tell people, and this is what I do. I try to find something that was successful. And I try to find, and I pat myself on the back for that. Good job, you know. And then I say, okay, what needed improvement? And it might be the contrast. It might be, you know, soft edges opposed to hard edges. It might be something like that. And I try to let that be the theme for my next painting. So you're in a state of always being critical. You can't be any other way and improve. It doesn't really work that way for me. But I love the process. And not only do I love it as much as before, I love it more, because I didn't understand that idea when I was a sophomore. Sophomore means wise fool. You know?
I didn't know that.
That's right. And that was a big year for me, my sophomore year. Also that year, Dr. Gore took me to Washington, D.C. He had a show, one of the senator's office up there, and I helped him take the show up there. And I got to see the National Gallery of Art, the Hirshhorn, the Phillips, the Freer Gallery. I saw all those places. I'd never been to a museum before. You know, it helps to study art. Mm-hmm. The dead people are the good ones, because they're already, you know, they're not going to let you down. These guys walking around, who knows what they're going to do in another 5 years. But those guys, the big people, the Edward Hoppers and Ashcan School, you know, Van Gogh, who doesn't like Van Gogh? I mean, John Singer Sargent's watercolors.
That's top of the list for you.
Yeah, really is. But there's so many. There was a woman in here in the gallery just recently, the past few years, that's recent, and she was talking about her uncle who painted. And I said, wow, that's good. And she said, yeah, his name was Ogden Plessinger. Now, Ogden Plessinger, Andrew Wyeth was asked who the top 10 watercolorists are in the country, and that was one of them. But to her, he was just an uncle who painted, you know. I mean, I guess he was just Uncle Ogden or something. Going to museums and seeing great painters helps you grow. You know.
Today's conversation is brought to you in part by Farm Families of Mississippi, reminding us that every meal starts on a farm.
Mississippi farmers raise over 800,000 head of cattle each year. We take care of our livestock so you get what's good for your family on your table. We are only one of thousands, but we are united as one to grow the food, fiber, and shelter you need every day. Mississippi needs farmers. The Farm Families of Mississippi.
At Atmos Energy, we believe affordable, reliable, and efficient natural gas is essential to achieving a low-carbon energy future. We're committed to helping protect the environment by providing smart choice solutions to help customers reduce energy use and lower their carbon footprint. Get a rebate up to $600 off qualifying high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy, your natural gas company.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
Is cooking your passion? Do you love to bake? Do you want to be a chef? You need to check out Culinary Arts at Holmes CC. When the affordable tuition you need meets the technical skills you want, that's when you know you're a Bulldog. A Holmes Community College Bulldog. Enroll today at holmescc.edu.
Audibles continues with support from Farm Families of Mississippi, where agriculture meets everyday life.
You capture such pure and artistic images of everyday Southern life. That's been kind of your hallmark. What is it that draws you to each subject? What is that quality that draws you to each subject?
Well, my dad taught Mississippi history. And we're seventh generation Mississippians. In fact, one of our ancestors was I think he was Samuel Swayze, the first Protestant minister in Mississippi, in what became Mississippi. It wasn't even Mississippi at that point, you know.
Oh, wow.
The roots here are strong, but not just the traditional roots, but the real connections with people. I like that. I mean, I'm very aware of people's idea of, and how things have been, and to some degree still are, the deficits that Mississippi has. But roots are strong. And I've had the opportunity to travel. I spent about a year in Italy, you know, that's a lot. 2 months last year in France, 2 more months this summer coming up in France, Caribbean. All these came from painting, but I have to say, I'm not only, when I'm coming home, I always feel good. It's never a going away, a getting away. If it does anything, it helps me understand the things that I want to appreciate about here and the things that I want to grow. Like when we were in Tuscany, I remember we stayed, I was working with Robert St. John. We were working on a book. And we stayed in the very middle between Siena and Florence. This is Italy, Florence. And I remember thinking, okay, this is rural. These people are growing grapes and they're growing olives. And, you know, we grow soybeans and cotton. But it's really the connection to the soil and the tradition of that. And there's a value system that you get when you put a seed in the ground. I'm sounding like Green Acres right now. You put a seed in the ground and you nurture it and it grows and it comes to something and it bears fruit, and you harvest that. It gets you through the winter, and then you take some of that seed and you start it all over again. Mm-hmm. It's a cycle of life that in Mississippi, we are hardly, a generation and a half, 2 generations ago from a farming, agricultural society. That teaches a lot about how life works, the cycles, and I like that part. That part appeals to me. Yesterday, I just sprigged a bunch of Asiatic jasmine in my yard. That's one of the things I do is kind of blow off steam, Gardening teaches those kind of things. Monet considered himself as much a gardener as a painter. I got to paint there, and it was the best garden I'd ever painted. And I think it's because he was a painter. He designed it to be painted. Mm-hmm. And there's a relation between those things that fuels my interest, my continuing interest in Mississippi and the South. Also, we have a lot of tension here too. Mm-hmm. A war was fought here. Mm-hmm. We lost the war. I don't hang out with people who think we should have won the war. Mm-hmm. And so we have this chip on our shoulder, like, we failed a test. We didn't study for it, but we still feel bad because we failed the test. We know we deserve to fail. But I think there's that tension that we have, having to resolve that. Plus, we got characters everywhere. I mean, like they say, you put them on the front porch. They're there. And every family's got some of them.
I've heard you talk about how there have been different times when you've been outside painting, and to quote you, a bird comments on one of your paintings. What is the wildest or craziest thing that, outside of birds commenting on your paintings every now and then, can you remember a crazy story when you were painting outside?
I was teaching a watercolor workshop one time, and we had our paintings out there, and we're all outside, and it was really pretty crazy because we had our paintings leaning up against trees, and this dog comes by and just comments on the painting. Just recently, I was down in Natchez. We just started a gallery in Natchez, and I'm painting Monmouth, one of the mansions there, and a squirrel falls out of the tree right in front of me, almost hits my easel, and then he just shakes his head and runs off. I guess that's what they do. There's so many things like that. Also, not as uncommon, but certainly it's kind of strange. You'd be working on a painting, and a UPS truck pulls up right in front of you, and they have a 15-minute delivery for the neighborhood. Gosh. So you just have to kind of wait. You have to. But there was one time I was painting, and this guy. I was going to paint some bodock trees. That's a French word that we've called bodock, but it means, I think I'm saying bodock, beautiful arc, because the limbs grow like that, and they make great fence posts. They only see them in the country. There's one in front of UMMC on State Street, but that's the only one I know of. Anyway, I said, can I paint your bodock trees? And the guy there said, oh yeah, you can come back tomorrow and it'll be fine. So I go back the next day, and I'm working on a painting, and this other guy comes up with a shotgun, and he says, what you doing on my property? And now I don't know that was his property, but it seemed like he was the guy who had the gun, so I'm going to listen to him. And he said, oh, I know why you're out here. You're looking for that Civil War gold. And at that point, I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
Oh, wow.
You can't get enough permission. Things happen. Golly, there's one time I was painting downtown Jackson, and people look at you. You're on the sidewalk, and this lady, it was right in front of the museum, on she hit another car, and I continued to paint. The police officer comes up and said, well, I was just so distracted by that boy over there painting. I was younger then. And, that was part of her police report. That was her reason for having the accident.
Distracted by you painting?
I did not get brought into that, fortunately, but I did hear that, yeah. Stuff like that happens,
You referenced dogs. We were talking about, you got this painting in here of your old dog. And I asked you, I was like, I'm just curious, do you paint dogs? Because, that'd be an awesome treat one day to have you paint my two pooches at home. And how hard is it to paint animals? Because they don't, they're not still. So how hard is that?
Well, if they stay in your area, they'll move around. Or yesterday I was painting some cows. They don't stay still either, but there's always one in a similar pose.
Yeah.
This is Scruffy. He is in Ribérac in France. And we saw him the previous year, and then we saw him that year. He's a kind of a village dog, and he has a lot of other... The second year we went there were a lot of puppies that looked a lot like him. Dogs, you have to just...
Scruffy was busy.
Scruffy was a very busy boy. And but dogs are the better part of people.
Mm.
They say the difference between cats and dogs. I'm not going to get into that debate, but someone said the difference between cats and dogs is cats know revenge, dogs know guilt. They
I love that.
Yes, you won't see a cat. Oh, I did that. They'll say, yeah, I did that. What,
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, they're going to challenge them on that. But dogs are, I've always had a dog. They're just more human than a lot of humans.
They really are. Yeah, I love that picture here you have of your old dog.
James.
James, it's a beautiful picture of James. We were talking about our love for Ricky Gervais, and Ricky Gervais is such a voice for animal rights and such an activist for animals. And
What did he say again?
He said dogs are magical.
Yeah.
Dogs are magical. And I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that. I was always curious because I've seen some of your work and, of course, seeing the painting of James. And was always curious, how hard is that to paint animals? Because they don't stay still. So, with watercolor, it can be an unforgiving medium.
Yeah. James helped me out, though, because, that was in the gallery, the old gallery, before we had our redo. And people would come in and he'd run to the door, always loved to greet him. But then I'd walk him back and I'd say sit, and he would sit in the same pose. He was a unique dog among the dogs in my life. I'm not saying everybody doesn't have their story, but in my life, he was the one, I'll always have a dog, though.
Got to have a dog. And James was beautiful. Just looking at that painting, he's a beautiful dog.
It was a half lab, half Australian Shepherd, and people would ask what breed he was. And I always tell them, he's an Irish Shedder, because he shed like you wouldn't believe. But I couldn't help that.
Support for Audibles comes from Atmos Energy, helping to fuel homes across the South with safe, reliable, natural gas. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's me, Gus the Gopher for Atmos Energy. I dig all around the yard. Occasionally, I bump into a utility line and get a headache. But if you hit one with your shovel, backhoe, or ditch digger, you could cause a gas leak, disrupt service, or worse. So call 811 at least 3 business days before you or someone else digs in your yard to have those underground utility-owned lines marked. It's free and it's the law. You dig what I'm saying? For more on safe digging, visit atmosenergy.com/811.
From our view on this farm, food security is national security. Our nation must have a sustainable food source. Keeping the supply chain moving and food on our grocery store shelves by growing the cleanest food in the world.
We're only one of thousands, but we are united as one to grow the food, fiber, and shelter you need every day because Mississippi needs us. Mississippi needs farmers, the farm families of Mississippi.
When it comes to concrete work in central Mississippi, trust a name built on generations of craftsmanship. Nico Concrete Contractor. Nico is a third-generation concrete professional with over 30 years of hands-on experience and more than 20 years in business right here in Brandon. From residential driveways and patios to commercial parking lots, metal building foundations and retaining walls. If you want it done right the first time, call Nico Concrete Contractor. Built on experience, built to last.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
Welcome back to Audibles, presented in part by Atmos Energy, natural gas, the smart energy choice for your home.
So you've had some collaborations with Robert St. John. Of course, Robert's been on the show before. And what's it like to mix art and food? That's got to be, it's an interesting combo. So what's that been like to collab with Robert?
We did 4 books, and in fact, the first book we did, we were across the street and we'd just opened the gallery. I'd had a couple of books come out, and he came in with this idea to do a coffee table cookbook, an art food book. And that seemed intriguing to me. I really liked that. And really, he was saying, you know, food and art to explain this concept of what it means to be Southern. Because that's always a complicated thing. You know, people have an idea about what it means to be Southern. Like, you know, I was over in Europe and people would say, oh, you don't seem like you're from Mississippi. And I said, well, and after enough of that, I said, well, have you ever been? And they said, no, but we watch TV. And, you know, it's always different. It's a difficult thing to explain. And I think food and painting has the ability to convey that idea. But we spent 90 days, I believe it was, working on Italian palette over there, which is a long time. And we started doing tours there. I guess we're close to around a year that we spent in Italy altogether. And, you know, food and art, they just go together. I mean, I think the word most commonly used to describe artists is starving artists, which, you know, you can do. But, I mean, there's also a great passion that people have for food, that chefs have, that's not unlike what people who paint have. There's a personality behind it. It's not just what's on your plate. It's the personality of the person preparing it. And it's the history that goes behind it, the stories that go behind it. And all those things are very connected to each other. They were enjoyable books to do. We did 4 books. We did Southern Seasons. We did Southern Palette, Southern Seasons, Mississippi Palette, and then we did Italian Palette in Italy. So, you know, that was a good series to work on. We enjoyed doing those. And then we did a TV series for 5 seasons.
I remember that, Palette to Palette. Yeah, I remember that. We talk about Southern culture. You referenced it a minute ago. There's a lot of theories on that. But what does, when you're getting ready to paint, when you're getting ready to sit down and you want to illustrate what Southern culture means, what does Southern culture mean to you? Well, it's not easy to explain with words, and I think that's why food and painting and music can be really helpful in doing that. I mean, Mississippi, it really is the cradle for popular music. I mean, I remember growing up hearing Eric Burton and the Animals, hearing
Cream, all these great bands. And I didn't realize that what they were doing was playing Southern music, Southern blues, and they were interpreting that in their way. It was only till an album by Muddy Waters called Electric Mud, and I heard the story that Muddy Waters, no relation, but I would claim him though. His manager said, "Hey, look, these guys in England are making a lot of money on the blues, and this is what you do." I said, "You make this album, we'll put some wah-wah pedals and fuzz boxes and distortion on there, and because they called it psychedelic, but it was really just the blues, and we'll make an album." And he did Electric Mud, and I thought, wow, that was a great album. Then I started scratching a little more. I mean, I was in junior high. I thought, that came from Mississippi. My introduction to the South, the music part, came from music that other people had done. And, you know, the first time I was in France, went to the top of this department store called Printemps, and there was a log cabin up there. They're fascinated with Southern culture. They just see it in a different way. It's hard to explain it, and a lot of things have tried. I liked Old Brother. That was pretty good, and that was it was Ulysses, the story, you know, told in a Southern way. But its roots, its connections to people, its characters. I mean, you know, the South, it's just a whole bunch of characters in search of a story. And it's easy. If you got the characters, you'd almost have the story. I mean, I know that's a little bit backwards. You're supposed to have the story first, but the characters, they suggest such stories that if we didn't have stories, we would make them up because we have such good characters. And like, you know, you're related to some, I'm related to some in our family. It's and when you put it into fiction, you can talk about it. If it's around the dinner table and it's really happening, you better not talk about it. You know.
You've painted everywhere from root beer stands, churches. I mean, you name it. Is there a place, even now, today, as we sit here, it still has this deep emotional tie for you?
You know, the one thing I've painted a lot, and I have painted it off and on, and I'm so glad that it's still here with us, because many times I'll paint something and they'll get torn down or burned down or, you know, arson down or something. And when I was starting to paint downtown Jackson, because I didn't have a gallery, I would kind of hang out around the Mayflower. Now, this is before the Federal Building. They won't let you do that anymore. You can't paint on the sidewalk in front of the Federal Building anymore. They'll run you off. But the Mayflower has been a perennial subject of mine. And because when I was down there, you know, Mr. Tourist would come out and give me a cup of coffee or something. I think he thought I was down on my luck and stuff like that. But it was kind of a touchstone for me for all those times, because it's been there forever. And it's just recently been sold and redone and, you know, making another stand. But I knew it back in the days when, you know, it was just a more vital downtown. And places like that, I guess, the places that are still here, that's what I keep going back to. Or it might not even be the same place, but it reminds me of a place. A lot of that. You could say nostalgia, but to tell you the truth, I don't paint from photos, and I just, I like the energy of being there. So the things I'm painting, even though they may be nostalgic to people, they're in the here and now, right now, they're still there. And I kind of got involved in preservation through things like that. I met Malcolm that way. He was doing the Diddy Wah Diddy back in the day. It was a local paper, and they were trying to get some interest to save the Greyhound bus station. Yeah, which they did, and they used a painting of mine, and that's how I met Malcolm. Painting painting has a purpose in a community. It helps. I think it can help people be aware of what they have, you know, but it mostly makes me aware of what I'm around.
You mentioned the Mayflower. We'll have to get you hooked up with Hunter Evans, who recently took over the Mayflower. Get you guys together. I'm sure there's some things, conversations there that could be had, right, between you and Hunter.
Some redfish to be had there.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned preservation just moments ago, and it's interesting that I even have this on here that you said that. Do you feel like your art kind of has a role in preserving Southern heritage, telling the stories of the South? Do you kind of take ownership of that to a degree?
Well, yeah. I'll put it like this: it helps me have a purpose for what I'm doing. I'm going to do it anyway, and sometimes I have to figure out what it is that motivates me later. I'm not trying to rationalize it. I'm just trying to figure out what's already there happening. Like in this area down here, downtown Clinton, we've been here. The gallery's been here for 25 years, and 25 years ago I could buy property cheap. You know, nobody wanted it much except to tear it down. And I love this area because even though it's in Clinton, which is a larger place, this little area is our historic area, and I want to see this become a vital area. The only way that you're going to really save it is to have some here and now with the past. And this was Landrum's building supply, and we tried to do a faithful rebuild to that vintage of that time. We just redid the gallery, and it took about a year. And history, the fact that my dad taught history, and we didn't really have vacations. We didn't go to Disneyland, stuff like that. In the summers, my little brother would have skin grafts and would have to stick around. And that was 14 years, I believe I'm right on that number. And so we would go to Indian mounds and, battlefields and stuff like that. And that's what we did. More of the history of what Mississippi is, you know. So I feel some connection to that. I do.
From the seed, and the soil grows row after row. We take care of this land, using just the right amount of our natural resources and never more than we need.
We are only one of thousands, but we are united as one to grow the food, fiber, and shelter you need every day. Because Mississippi needs us. Mississippi needs farmers, the farm families of Mississippi.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas from Atmos Energy. It's efficient and reliable energy that's essential for today and generations to come. You can count on affordable natural gas to help you save money and keep you comfortable while fueling your dream home. So make the smart choice and talk to a builder today about including natural gas. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy, your natural gas company.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
Is cooking your passion? Do you love to bake? Do you want to be a chef? You need to check out culinary arts at Holmes CC. When the affordable tuition you need meets the technical skills you want, that's when you know you're a Bulldog. A Holmes Community College Bulldog. Enroll today at holmescc.edu.
You've talked about, and I love the way you phrase this, you've talked about when you've gone through difficult times, you said, I would just paint my way through it because it would serve as a type of therapy for you. Can you recall a recent time when you had to paint your way through it?
Yeah. I went through a divorce, which is kind of hard. It's really hard. And it's a huge change in your life. And, I had painted I initially started painting as a kid because I was just so intensely bored. I mean, boredom is a real motivator. Especially, we couldn't say, oh, I'm bored, because, then Dad would stick a rake in your hand and you could rake some leaves. And that'd be a good cure for that, and maybe get some leaves done too.
Never say you're bored in front of your parents.
That is accurate. And so boredom was one motivator. But really, I'm kind of by nature, I think, a more joyous painter. And I spent most of my life in that mode. It became something that revealed the world to me, and it was very interesting. But, if you live long enough, stuff's going to happen, whether it's a death or a loss or a dramatic change that you have to adapt to. Mm-hmm. And so painting became, at that point, it became a way of dealing with things and getting through things. And I remember the depths of depression became pretty low. And I remember there was maybe a 2-week period I simply couldn't paint. And that was horrible, But when I finally got through that, and the way I got through that is I just pushed myself through that. Mm-hmm. I made myself do this thing that had become difficult or become a way of dealing with the difficulty. I pushed myself to do that. I mean, the illusion is that you wake up every day and the muse is just giving you an idea. And it really is not that way for me. I think I have to make myself get out and do that. What I want to do in the morning is have my 3rd cup of coffee. That's what I want to do. But I believe, and it has been proven to me from my own experience, that if I get out and I go through the process of starting a painting, the muse comes back and gives you something. But if I'm not doing something, nothing happens. And I listen to the weather, but I don't always pay attention to it. I mean, many of the days that I had a bad weather forecast, but I went out anyway. And I painted, and you know what? It was a good day. And if I had stayed at home, maybe not as much. So, but yeah, getting through tough times, painting has been very valuable. I've never really known the dramatic effect of that until that happened, I guess.
Even with a decorated career and so many scenes painted, so many different subjects, is there a scene or location in your mind right now that you say, okay, that, I hate to use the word bucket list, but I mean, it's still in your mind like, man, I still want to paint that.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Just recently, my wife and I went to, Christy and I went to Colombia. That had been on my list for a long time. People know you paint and they start telling you stories, and it sounds intriguing, but you haven't been there. And so that was an example of one of them. But there are a lot of things I want to still paint. Right now I'm working on location. It's a physically demanding thing, and I know one day I'm not going to be able to do this. And I'm kind of planning a different part of my life. I'm not there, of course, yet, but one day I guess I'll be a studio painter. And I make notes on things, but I figure that working from life will give me the skills, will give me what I need to work in a studio. I'm building up a kind of a mental kind of a catalog of things every time I paint. When you paint, you're programming things into your head. That's one of the things I like about painting. In my drawing classes in college, we had an intense time drawing skulls. And I couldn't figure out why we were drawing the skull at this angle, skull upside down, skull sideways. And then Dr. Gora says, okay, now takes the skull away. I want you to draw the skull upside down 3/4 angle. Or maybe it's pointed 90 degrees up. And the reason we were able to do that, I was able to do that, is because each time I would draw it, I'd programmed another bit of information in there. It helps, painting helps develop three-dimensional thinking, which is cornerstone for idea making, you might say. That's one of the things I like about painting.
If you could have a conversation with 20-year-old Wyatt Waters, how would that conversation go?
You know, what I would tell myself, 20 and even younger, or a little bit older too, I'd been told this, but for it to take effect in your life takes a while. My dad said, a lot of my good conversations came from the fact that I didn't play ball and I was having to go with him to the dugout while he was coaching high school and I was grade school, let's say. Dream, plan, do. And believe in yourself. You can do much more than you think you can, but you have to prepare. You have to get ready, but then you have to do it. You have to have the passion. You have to develop yourself to execute this passion, but then you have to do it. I knew a guy who prepared so much, and I think he was afraid of doing. He just kept preparing.
Just kept preparing.
Yeah, you got to do at some point. You got to do, and sometimes you got to do before you feel ready, because you're never going to get ready, and it's time to do. But that's what I would tell myself, to believe in myself more, and because it's, self-doubt is a creative plague. Everybody who works in creative fields, you have these, oh wow, I could have done better, should have done better. I don't know if I can do this. But you do it anyway. Was it that Mother Teresa thing, she had some quote about that.
Love them anyway, I
Yeah.
think was hers.
Yeah.
Is that right?
There's a
Sounds
whole
about
list
right.
of things, and that, people may not always appreciate the good things you do, but do them anyway. And then do it anyway.
Do it anyway. My final question for you. What mark do you hope your art, the places you've gone, the people, the subjects that have been included in your artwork, and what mark do you hope that you have? Let's get down the road here and somebody Googles Wyatt Waters. What is the mark that you hope that you and your artwork have?
What I really want to do, and this is part of the teaching thing that I feel, I want people to feel they can do that thing that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't have to be painting. That's what I do, and that's what I feel qualified to teach or to share. But what I want people to do is to value their own judgment, but to develop their judgment. Like, in the time that we live, it's pretty tough. It's a pretty tough time. And I'm not trying to tell people what to believe, what to think, but I want to show them that they need to think, and their thinking is valid. Someone said that the only real thinking you do is thinking you do for yourself. Everything else is just following, and I want people to trust their own judgments and to develop. And I believe that art has a place in that. When I'm outside, what I'm shooting for is clarity. And although it's clarity of painting, a very confusing scene, or, a scene of water, or whatever it is, that's what I'm shooting for, a clear vision. And I do believe that engenders clear thinking. I hope it does, and I want people to have that for themselves. That's really what I hope I have to share. That's what I want people to do. I don't want to tell them what to think. I want to tell them, hey, think,
a lifetime marked with a lot of different hues and colors on the canvas, and also in the communities. You're a treasure in Mississippi, and I appreciate you doing this. I hope we tell your story in a way that's pleasing to you and Miss Christie and everyone that's benefited from your artwork over the years. Thank you for taking time to do this with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You have done your research.
I appreciate that.
I can tell that.
Thank you so much. That's it.
All right. Thanks so much,
man. Thank you for doing that.
Fun.
That was such a treat. I had so much fun prepping for this.
You're good.
Oh, thank you. Did you get that on camera?
Yeah, let's get that on camera there.
Make sure it's rolling.
Real stories, real legends. The South's own storytelling show. Join us next week for another episode of Audibles with Jason Scarborough.